And welcome to the SpartanMag.com VCast. Jim Comparoni going solo on the road again. Right now, Cincinnati, St. Xavier, the rivals camp Cincinnati, was here today, and I put the script together, came out, was trying to get on the field, but they've already packed up and gone on to the next stop. But the state of Michigan had a few players here today. Ohio, of course, with a few players today. Several of the best players in those two states. About 130 players here today. Numbers not quite as big as maybe they used to be for some of the Midwestern stops in the Rivals Camp Series. Just one of those things, the culture in Ohio, some of the top players come out, but they're not really a camp-going state in terms of high school football. Unlike other states where they really get into the recruiting rankings and so forth. They're into the recruiting rankings here in Ohio, but the camp thing is just not really, I don't think it's encouraged by a lot of the high school coaches. Anyway, there were some good Ohio players here, some with Michigan State interests for sure. Some of the interesting ones. Brandon Taylor, an interesting player. And I'll talk about some Michiganders here in a moment also. But Brandon Taylor, lineman, defensive lineman out of Lima, Ohio, ranked number 36 in Ohio. Today, this was a good atmosphere for him. Now, he's a guy that got a Michigan State offer, quite a while ago. At 6'2", 250, he's got some versatility. He's got some strength to play inside. Here, he showed that he's got some excellent takeoff speed. For a guy with big legs, you look at him and you wouldn't necessarily think speed would be part of his game. Today, in a shorts and t-shirts camp environment, Brandon Taylor looked pretty good. Also, interestingly, he went to several practices this spring at various college destinations, including Michigan State. Also went to Michigan for a spring practice, went to Ohio State for a spring practice, went to Purdue and Kentucky also. So Brandon Taylor, a guy who's taking his recruiting seriously, putting a lot of legwork in. Today did some good things, and Michigan State has been recruiting him, he said, since he's a sophomore. So Michigan State got in on him early, ranked, like I said, number 36 in Ohio. I want to go back and look at him and see what it looks like in pads. That ranking, I think, might be increasing a little bit. I don't know. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I didn't talk to the people that handle the rankings, but it looks to me to be a guy, especially as a defensive lineman, a coveted position, would look to me like being ranked better than that by next fall. Someone to keep an eye on. Someone that I think Michigan State has a shot at. Now, his birthday is July 22nd. He might want to make a decision by July 22nd. So Brandon Taylor is one to watch this summer, possibly going to some camps. Justin Watley, another guy from Ohio, 6'3", 270. He's ranked number 15 in Ohio. He has offers from Michigan State, Purdue, and Minnesota. Defensive lineman, also defensive end, also a little bit of a tight end. Michigan State spoken with him, told him tight end, H-back might be something he could do at the college level. Today, strong job out here. He has an official visit coming up to Iowa State. Plans to go to Michigan State again sometime in the near future. Also in the state of Ohio. Now those guys might be more in reach for Michigan State, but Michigan State's also involved with a couple of top 5 guys in Ohio. Difficult to go into the state of Ohio and get players ranked that high when the Buckeyes are after them. And that's the case with Darian Henry and Jaheim Thomas, a couple of guys from Cincinnati, Princeton. Michigan State's been busy in Cincinnati, Princeton over the years. That continues to be the case. These two guys are big timers. Darian Henry, number 2 player in Ohio, 6'5", 265, defensive end, all kinds of talent. He's been to Ohio State many times. Went to Michigan State for a spring practice, March 24th. He's been to Michigan State a handful of times. Michigan State is in on Darian Henry. I talked to him a little bit about it, and he mentioned that Michigan State was the 3rd school that offered him. So Michigan State got in early with Darian Henry. That has resonated with him, and it's allowed Michigan State to continue to jostle around and be in the hunt a little bit for this guy. He went to a Michigan State basketball game during the winter, I think in February. He said he sat with Mark D'Antonio during the basketball game. He appreciates in his words, Mark D'Antonio is a down-to-earth guy, someone he could relate to a little bit. And so Michigan State has got him on campus, gotten him to sit next to D'Antonio during a basketball game, has put in some legwork. When I spoke with him about Michigan State, some of the things he likes, it's a lot of the usual things, the brotherhood at Michigan State. But he also said he was impressed at number 48, did some things and had a chance to come out this year. I said, Kenny Willekes? He says, yeah, Kenny Willekes. He was impressed with what he did, impressed with what Michigan State does as a defense. So Darian Henry, it's not just lip service. Michigan State in early. He knows who Kenny Willekes is. He's giving Michigan State a legit look. Of course, the Buckeyes will be hard to beat, but Michigan State putting in some work there. Jaheim Thomas, 6'5", 218. That's Darian Henry's teammate out of Cincinnati Princeton. Outside linebacker. He's visited Michigan State 3 or 4 times. Actually, I apologize. Jaheim Thomas is the guy that sat with D'Antonio during the hoop games. So this is why you got to make notes like this, because I can't remember all that stuff. I'm getting old. But Darian Henry also has been to visit Michigan State a number of times. They both have, both Cincinnati Princeton guys. Jaheim Thomas, lengthy, rangy outside linebacker, looked good in this environment as well. He visited Louisville yesterday. Louisville with the new coach, Scott Satterfield, recently hired from Appalachian State. He'd been recruited by Louisville a little bit in the past, thinks that this Louisville staff is a little more high energy, so that appealed to him a little bit. He plans to go to Kentucky next week. Continue to hear these Ohio guys, many of them mentioning Kentucky. Jaheim Thomas, number 4 player in Ohio, Buckeyes after him. So it's a couple of top 5 guys in the state of Ohio that Michigan State's put in some work with, and looking like they want to finish the race with them. We'll see if those guys can get on campus for Michigan State this summer. You know, elsewhere in the state of Michigan, Enzo Jennings was here, the defensive back from the Detroit area, 6'1", 184. Really excited about his Michigan State offer. You know, a lot of people wondering, when was Michigan State going to offer? A lot of people thought that maybe Michigan State was too late in offering. I didn't even bring that up, but Enzo Jennings told me today, he said, hey, you know, he spoke a lot with Mark D'Antonio. He knows that Mark D'Antonio is, quote, a big, quote, big DBs guy, unquote. So D'Antonio's been talking to him about being a defensive back. D'Antonio told him that when he offers a defensive back, it's a serious offer because D'Antonio spends a lot of time on that position. This is what Enzo Jennings told me. You and I know that. Enzo Jennings knows that. So Enzo Jennings, I didn't get the idea that he was offended in the least that Michigan State was what some people thought was a little bit late to offer, considering Enzo Jennings is ranked number 3 in the state by Rivals.com, number 103 in the country, and he plans to camp at Michigan State this summer, and he's excited about that Michigan State offer. He did not go to any spring practices. He says he's been to Kentucky many times also, so Alicia Gander, the Kentucky, is recruiting quite often. In fact, it says, and he lit up when he talked about the Michigan State offer. You can tell he really has a lot of respect for Michigan State. He lit up about Kentucky also. He says that's like another home away from home for him. But I get the idea Michigan State is going to be among the top teams to beat for him. And he also mentioned that he was aware that Michigan State sent 2 more defensive backs into the NFL draft yesterday and the day before. He's aware that Michigan State has had 9 defensive backs drafted in the last 9 years. So Michigan State running at a good pace with Enzo Jennings. He did well today, and he matched up against some good wide receivers, had some good moments, but there were some receivers that did some good things as well. I'll talk about them in a minute. But first, also in the state of Michigan, Bryce Austin was here, 6'2", 285, out of Southfield A&T, ranked number 26 in Michigan. He told me that Michigan State is in his top 5. As far as camps this summer, he's not quite sure. He was supposed to go to Michigan State's spring game. He missed it because he was sick. He went to other spring practices at Penn State and Indiana. Penn State offered him April 6th, and he's planning to go back and check out Penn State with his mother here in the next few weeks. He didn't do so well here today, and he was his own worst critic about that. Defensive player, a football player, Tom Izzo would like that, because Tom Izzo, as a basketball coach, says one of the weaknesses for any athlete is the ability to make observations about yourself and constructive criticism about yourself. Tom Izzo would not say that about Bryce Austin. Austin felt like he didn't play as well as he had wanted to today, and I would agree with that a little bit. I thought that he did not display real good use of hands to get off of blocks, and I asked him how he thought he was doing, and he said he thought he was not doing well. And I asked him, was it hands? He said, yeah, hands, and just getting his feet under him, and he makes him want to get back to work, which is the reaction you want to have. So Austin, in this environment, might be a guy that's better with pads on. I remember coming to this camp, was it 2 years ago? Chase Klein was here as a linebacker, and these camps are tough for linebackers because all you're asked to do mainly is cover wide receivers and tight ends in space. which is uncomfortable for tight end for linebackers. Linebackers like to have pads on, take on blockers, make tackles. You can't do that here. Chase Klein showed up at all these camps, kind of struggled a little bit in space, but you're out there in the slot trying to cover receivers. That's not what Chase Klein is going to do in college. Goes to Michigan State, redshirted, and just a couple of weeks ago in the green-white game, Chase Klein was excellent, put up some good numbers, went back over that film, and he was as good as his numbers when I looked at that again. He's got some knack, he's got some instinct, quick enough, gets there. Chase Klein does at Michigan State, gets there with some pop, all those things that you can't show here in this environment. Bryce Austin, coaches like his physicality, can't show that a lot here, although there is some hand-to-hand combat, of course, when O-line goes against D-line. But Bryce Austin, number 26 in the state of Michigan, I suspect he will stay around that ranking after today. But he showed up, competed, learned about himself, wants to get back to work. Michigan State's in solid shape there in his top 5. We'll see how that one progresses as time goes along. As far as offensive players, Michigan State, of course, needs a lot of help on offense. We all know that. Today, some of the top, more intriguing players on the board for Michigan State did not show up. Ian Stewart out of Gibraltar Carlson, excellent wide receiver, DB, outside linebacker. Michigan State likes him primarily on defense, I think, but he's got excellent film both sides of the ball. He was not here. Penny Boone, the running back out of Detroit Cass Tech, not here. Cam Martinez, the explosive slot receiver type of guy out of Muskegon, not here. Even running back Torrance Davis out of Cleveland Glenville, he was here yesterday for the combine and had already been invited to go to the camp here. The combine yesterday was mainly a vehicle for local players or players from anywhere to come and try to get an invitation to today. I think he already had an invitation as a Michigan State offer, but he came to the combine, worked out, and then did not show up today. So I was looking forward to talking with him since his Michigan State offer, but Torrance Davis out of Cleveland Glenville, not here. As far as wide receivers go, people that Michigan State are not in on, Rashawn Williams, wide receiver out of Detroit, was the wide receiver MVP today, and deservedly so. Good size, good strength, a lot of work ethic. He did not miss a rep in line the whole time. I mean, he was at the front of the line as often as he could get, and he had good camaraderie with his teammates, spoke with him a little bit. Seems like a solid guy. Frankly, I asked him what happened with Michigan State. Michigan State didn't make his top 5. He's supposed to decide tomorrow, and the feeling here is it might be Purdue that ends up getting Rashawn Williams, and that would be a big-time get for Purdue. So I asked him, I said, what was going on with Michigan State? He said as a sophomore he heard a lot from Michigan State, and then frankly it just dropped off. Didn't hear as much from them, and Michigan State fell out of the race with him. And Braden McGregor out of Port Huron, the defensive end, said something pretty much the same. And McGregor, I think that's his name, McGregor, he went down recently to a tour of Southeastern Conference schools. Michigan's also involved with him, but he said Michigan State just kind of tapered off with their contact. So that's the case with those two guys. Rashawn Williams was good at wide receiver today. Also a wide receiver, Abdur Ragmar Yassin out of the Detroit area, committed to Northwestern a while ago. Wide receiver, real good with his routes. You know how Northwestern wide receivers are with the tricky routes, stop and go, economical with their steps, quick with short area acceleration. That's the way Yassin is. He's going to Northwestern, and he's their type of player. Offensive line, underclassman, Terrence Enos was here, no relation, out of Cass Tech. He's a young guy, still getting his feet under him. He's got to reshape his mass a little bit. He's got a little bit of baby fat. That happens sometimes. He's got some work to do, but he was here. There's a center from Cass Tech. I can't think of his name right now. He was here, another classman. He looked pretty good also. He has getting a lot of major conference offers. I think Nebraska's in there. I think Michigan's offered also. Michigan's offered a lot of people. But anyway, it was interesting to talk to McGregor and Williams a little bit about some of that. And I know that's going to bother some people, but that's the news. That's the way it is here. Meanwhile, Michigan State getting in early with some of these other players. Some of the guys I mentioned from Ohio and so forth. Those were some of the highlight guys. It's hard to watch everybody. We say that about these camps all the time. But of the players that I saw, those are some of the stories that stuck out to me, and some of the latest in terms of Michigan State's recruitment for some of those players. Austin and Jennings worth watching. Those defensive front 7 players from Ohio worth watching as we get into the camp season, into the summer camp season at the universities around the country, and we'll be watching Michigan State's camp here in the next couple of weeks. Appreciate everybody checking out SpartanMag.com, and want to say hello to everybody, Corey Robinson and Spartan Insight, Matt Dorsey, all the usual suspects, Conan Dyke, all those guys, Rico Beard. I'll be back in the state of Michigan real soon, and checking out those guys and seeing what they have to say about various things. Appreciate all the subscribers, Ohio Spartan, and the way he reached out to me while I was down here. I appreciate that. SpartanMag.com, Jim Comparoni, VCast, St. Xavier High School, Cincinnati, Ohio, SpartanMag.com.